Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Into the Veil. I'm your host, Rachel. Thank you for being here. And I thought we would spend some time with Anku this evening. We have not had the opportunity to visit with him for, a couple weeks? Feels like he's been very busy, particularly through November. Even before that. But he shows me a lot of gathering, a lot of meeting, a lot of decision making, he said. So these feel like bigger meetings, more perhaps global. He said a lot of it's been very tied in with our decisions and our actions based on, say, our elections and different things like this. Is something that he is always impressing on me, is that they see potential. Without the restraints of time and space, they are able to see the likelihood. And it's very much based on the energy of our choices. And in those waves of energy, the outcome transpires. And so what he shows me is that it's kind of like door number 1, door number 2, door number 3, that there's consistently 3 solid potentials going on at any moment, depending on our choices. So if we're choosing out of a place, say, of fear, it creates a certain type of outcome. Not necessarily just fear, but the certain band of energy. So maybe it's out of the palm of fear, which can be anger and chaos and different, more negative feeling energies. And if we're choosing out of a place that's more peaceful for the higher good, or to the best of our ability, it creates a different outcome. He said that they're very seldom caught off guard by anything, because they always see that this could happen, potentially this could happen. So with that said, basically they're always prepared. Even when the forest fires happened this year, it feels like they were very clued in on the fact that they could happen. So they were kind of ready before that. In that, he feels like he's wanting to talk about, he feels very excited. It feels like it's important that he relays. It's got a certain level of pride right now. For those of us, and those of you, that have surpassed yourselves, that he kind of puffs up, like I see his chest puffed up. There's a certain level of pride that he's taking in being a part of that growth, in being a part of the mind opening to the unseen, to the things that are not easily explained, to things that others would argue, that you've been very willing to open your heart to what feels like the truth instead of just what your eyes can see. He said, many of you have reclaimed your power. Many of you have reclaimed yourselves. And even though it's been, he gives me the word challenges, even though it's been a challenge to get there, that a lot of you are settling into a peaceful place in that, and that you're beginning to really see your worth, that you're beginning to really understand all of the different things that you have to offer by being sovereign to yourselves. He said, of course, to the Creator, but as far as the world goes, to yourselves. He's also showing me that many are beginning to embrace the mystery of life, the magic of life, and are even beginning to realize what a miracle it is that we are even here, much less all of the other things that exist here. He's telling me in December, and consistently he shows me between the 16th and I believe the 19th, 18th, 19th. So maybe it depends on where you are in the world, or maybe it depends on where you are in the ability to receive that energy. But I feel like there's going to be, what I see is a wheel of energy, and when I feel it, I feel like since the beginning of the year it's kind of gone down, 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 and now he shows me since October it's been coming back up, 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 little bit, little bit, little bit. Excuse me. In that, I feel like in December it's not going to be quite, but it's almost back to the top. And there will be events between the 16th and the 19th, and it feels very much like there's alignment to energies within ourselves as well as outside of ourselves, kind of like a line between 2 points. And I feel him saying, for those of you that have, he said, accepted who you are, accepted the willingness to be who you are, even if you don't know exactly what that means yet, even if you don't know what all of the implications are in that. He shows me, I don't know if it's his hands, but he shows me a raising, like an upliftment. And he shows me that there's going to be a great upliftment, especially for light workers, about the middle. Feels like that third week of December. So there's going to be a number of changes, like I see, boom, boom, boom. So it could be several events that happen. And he's telling me that it's very important that we look with our hearts rather than our eyes. I feel an energy of entanglement. Now, I don't know if this could have to do with the stock market, politics. There's so many things going on in the world right now. I do feel a certain amount of like I get the sense in my left hand, this unrest. So whether that's political, perhaps shifts in the stock market, different things like this that on the surface can look very difficult. For some reason in my right hand, I'm feeling equal weight. And what that tells me is, for all of the negatives that we might see, that there's the opportunity for as many positives to come through. This shift is huge. Between the 21st and the 23rd, it's almost like it just feels like a tidal wave of energy. He's saying, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. You may not be able to control everything, but he's saying Spirit can. And Spirit can take care of all of us. He gives me the sense that just like they look at door number 1, door number 2, and door number 3 as potentials, God too understands man and understands the choices we're making and already knows in advance which way things are going to go and what we're going to need. But we need to be open to, he gives me the word miracles, open to the impossible, open to great gifts of the Spirit, great gifts of the Spirit. He gives me the sense that some of you will kind of wake up one day and just be different or feel different. That you will suddenly be able to see what you couldn't see before or understand what you couldn't understand before. That all of a sudden it's like these light bulbs going off. And there's a real sense of clarity. Yeah, it's there's a little entanglement there, because I feel like some of the things that are going to happen would look kind of tough, but at the same time there's like this whole opening or unfoldment for certain people So the same energy that might be creating a kerfuffle over here feels like it's creating this great beauty and fulfillment on the other side of it. He's saying just choose your side carefully. Think before you speak. Think before you act. Keep yourself in the highest place possible. Keep yourselves in gratitude. Keep yourselves at peace. I had a viewer that was asking if Anku might be able to tell us how many dimensions there are. And I've had others ask if we can walk into those dimensions. And the answer is definitely. Definitely. And part of this shift that's happening is all about dimension. 3D to 5D. We've heard it, we've heard it, we've heard it. But I believe that we are so very close that some of us actually are already in the baby stages of 5D. And he shows me that part of the difficulty is that we've kind of got one foot in the 3D and we've got one foot in the 5D. And it, on occasion, it's really difficult on our energy because we're bouncing back and forth between. He's saying, take good care of yourselves. He's saying, take good care of yourselves. Nurture yourselves. Treat yourselves well. It's going to make this dimensional shift much easier. But at some point, he's saying, we won't be able to have one foot here and one foot there. At some point, we will have to move forward into that 5D because it's going to become so energetically difficult for us to try to bounce back and forth. He's showing me several times a day right now for some. For some, he is showing me that this bounce back and forth is sometimes several times a day. Not just now and then. But it feels like a ping pong ball. And he said some of you are becoming overwhelmed energetically with trying to be in both worlds. He said they understand because they work with and through dimension all the time. But there's a difference. They're masters at it. They have accommodated themselves with utilizing energy in a different way than we have. Utilizing the sun's light, utilizing the moon, understanding that vibration and frequency can feed them as well or better than animals, plants, if they have to eat or consume something, they try to make it very light. But the point to this, he said, is unless we have made all of the adjustments that go with that step of growth, unless we have backed up our spiritual body to be stronger than our physical body, to have the structure needed to travel dimensionally, then what happens is excuse me, our energy becomes very frazzled. So it is a point of shift and change for everyone going through this, because they're not quite ready to leave behind the idea of 3D yet. They're close, but they're not quite ready to step off of that cliff, so to speak, into the 5D. He said, you're not wrong for that, because there are many still actively part of the 3D. He said that need you, that need your guidance, that need your strength, your vision, your confidence. But soon, there may be that commitment. Soon, everything feels as though, it just really feels like the next steps, because I see stone steps, the next steps to this growth and to this cycle, this transition, is going to require kind of leaving the old behind. He said each of you will make it as you are ready. He said nobody's going to push you off a cliff. It's not like that. But you're going to hear or feel, just feels like a call, or it feels like a vibration, a frequency. And it's the sense of knowing that sense of now is the time. The door is open if you're ready to step into another experience. He said it won't be strange for some of you, because you've kind of already been bouncing back and forth through the 3D and the 5D. A lot of you are doing this right now in, he says, dream state. Excuse me, too much wind this week. Because in dream state, you're free. In dream state, you don't have to consider logic and rhyme and reason. In dream state, you're free to be who you are. You're not limited. You can easily travel realms, dimensions, planes of existence with no barrier, no thought. He said what you're trying to do is learn how to do that with physical restraint, with your awake self. I mean, he feels a lot of pride in how far everybody's gotten, and there's a sense of relief. One of the questions was about how many dimensions there are. He gives me the number, he actually gives me the number 23, but 13 perhaps that they use. For us, 9 is strong, that we have access to based on our level of consciousness right now. But as we continue to grow, he says we will also have access to some of the upper dimensions. He said the higher you go in frequency, in consciousness, the more light-bodied, the more it's like super evolved. It's the kind of consciousness that creates planets, and it's a whole different kind of life form. It's they're teachers, but they do it from a totally different energetic place. He said, really, until we can learn to revere our own planet and our connection to her, it's difficult to have access to these upper realms, these upper dimensions, because we don't have understanding for it. We don't have compassion for it, respect for it. There was another question about ley lines and how impactful they are to, say, portals, and how many portals there are was the other part of that question. And he's kind of like he doesn't have a proper answer, because there are so many portals. He said there are portals in your house, there are portals out, say, in the woods or out and about. There are portals he says even people can be portals. And particularly certain types of empaths. And what he gives me in that is part of the reason that they are easily able to work with portal energy is because they are exceptionally empathic. And it is the ability to draw energy in as well as push it out. It, depending on the need, it's he said it's not super common, but it can happen that a person becomes that doorway, becomes, I've often said I channel, and he's showing me that more importantly I provide an avenue, a gate, a door for certain energies to communicate. But portals themselves, he said, are really, there are so many that it's almost impossible to say. Ley lines are important, as is the grid, like latitude and longitude. He's showing me the grid work of that. So ley lines produce one type of energy. The grid produces another type of energy. All of them kind of work together. But where the ley lines cross would be most powerful, especially these that go all around the globe. Where latitude and longitude cross, also powerful. He said there are some energies that aren't able to, he shows me like a line, a certain energies have to stay within certain frequencies. And he's speaking of it as if it's other cryptids perhaps, or things that aren't always seen. And part of the reason they're prevalent in certain areas is because they're bound by the, he gives me the word geometrics, and it feels like they're bound by these lines. So it's quite a bit for tonight. I feel like he could talk forever. If you have questions, please leave me a comment. Ask what you will. I don't feel like it'll be very long, and we will probably work with Anku again. He feels very relieved to have the opportunity to communicate again freely. I also wanted to mention we just finished a beautiful new batch of Ormus. If anybody needs that, we have, of course, the dowsing rods. They've been coming out just beautiful. Let me know if we can help with those two things. Of course, as we're approaching these changes, if you need help with these shifts, reach out to me about session time, and we'll see if we can't get your energy in line with that. If there's healing work that needs done, let's get it done while we can, so we can keep moving forward and growing. I hope that you'll like, share, and subscribe. Come back and see me again. Things are always changing, and hopefully we can do a live session soon and do some question and answer. I've been thinking about what time to do it so that everybody possible can be included in that with all these different time zones. But yeah, come back and see me. I look forward to it. I hope you'll stay blessed, and you have a good night. Thank you.